What has come to an end in July is 14 years of Conservative government that presided over a fall in living standards, the highest tax burden in 70 years, and a debt as a share of our economy of almost 100%, and a £22 billion black hole in the public finances just this year. And what we haven't heard from the front bench opposite, or indeed any Conservative member of a Parliament, is an apology for the mess that they have left this country in, that this government is now picking up.
Buckle up, Buttercups. The day Rachel Reeves faced a Reform UK firing squad. Imagine being summoned before a packed House of Commons, your every word broadcast to millions, your entire career balanced on the razor's edge of public scrutiny. Now imagine that on the day you're presenting your budget, your proudest work, your carefully honed plan for the country's future, you're ambushed by a rival party hungry for blood, eager to pick apart every line, every promise, every penny not accounted for. Welcome to Rachel Reeves' worst Tuesday yet, a day that proved British politics can be as cutthroat as any reality TV elimination round, with higher stakes and far fewer commercial breaks. It all started, as so many parliamentary dramas do, with a debate about the future of the NHS. The Reform Party, channeling their best insurance salesman energy, pushed for an insurance-based system. But Labour stood firm. The NHS must remain publicly funded, free at the point of use. No exceptions, no experiments with American-style healthcare, and certainly no backroom deals to privatize the people's institution. The member for Clecton, never one to shy away from a bar quip or a trip to the Westminster Arms, was told, perhaps with a twinkle of mischief, that he'd be better off at the two-chairman pub than trying to lecture the government on the NHS's future. The message was clear. If you want to win the trust of the British people, start by defending their most cherished institution, not auctioning it off to the highest bidder. But the real fireworks began when Rachel Reeves, Chancellor of the Exchequer, took centre stage to defend her budget. The air was thick with tension. Reform UK MPs were circling, hungry for a misstep. It wasn't long before the questions turned to Scotland. Why, the Reform bench demanded, had Reeves failed to properly account for Scotland's needs in her budget? Why were hospital waiting lists rising? Why was the government so quick to mention reform and so slow to mention Scotland? Reeves's response was, to put it charitably, less than convincing. Watching her try to justify the numbers was like seeing someone explain away a missing rent payment by talking about cryptocurrency investments. Technically possible, but nobody's buying it. The more she tried to defend, the more defensive she became, building a fortress of excuses while the opposition gleefully pointed out the holes. Throughout it all, Nigel Farage and Richard Tice, Reform UK's elder statesmen, sat back with Cheshire cat grins, letting their less famous colleague do the heavy lifting. They didn't need to pounce. They simply watched as Reeves struggled, knowing that sometimes the most effective attack is silence. Their strategy was simple. Let the Chancellor destroy herself with each bob and weave, each unanswered question, each nervous glance at her own MPs. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare. You don't always need to attack to win. The spectacle of the politician unraveling can be more devastating than any direct assault. But the moment that will be replayed in political highlight reels for years to come was the Scotland question. It wasn't just a technicality, it was a fundamental challenge to the government's grasp of the basics. When your budget fails to account for an entire nation within the UK, when billions of pounds and millions of lives hang in the balance, you can't afford to fumble. Yet fumble Reeves did. Her response was muddled, her logic leaky, her authority undermined. It was a political equivalent of forgetting your homework and then blaming the dog, the wind, and the very concept of homework itself. The Reform MP didn't let up. He called it a disgrace. He declared it unworkable. And all the while, Farage and Tice looked as if Christmas had come early. But beneath the drama and the jokes lies a serious question. Is our government up to the task of managing the nation's finances? When a chancellor can't explain gaps in her own budget, it's more than an embarrassing moment. It's a red flag for every taxpayer in the country. Are billions being allocated wisely? Is every part of the UK being treated fairly? Or are we witnessing a government so wrapped up in its own spin that it's lost sight of the basics? The ease with which Reform UK exposed these flaws should concern everyone. Either nobody in the Treasury asked these questions, or they didn't like the answers and papered over the cracks. Neither inspires confidence. Rachel Reeves' disastrous day in Parliament is a cautionary tale for every politician. Never underestimate your opponents, never take your eye off the basics, and never assume the public won't notice your mistakes. Whether you see Reform UK's grilling as a legitimate challenge or political point scoring, one thing's for sure: this government has some serious work to do if it wants to win back the public's trust. So, what do you think? Was this accountability in action, or just another round of Westminster theatre? In British politics, the line between the two is often thinner than you think. Keep your budgets balanced and your stories straight, because Reform UK and the public are watching.